We're going live. All right. Hello, everyone. Joanna Reed's here. I apologize for the little bit of a late start. We had a bad link and I just found out. So we're going to go ahead and get started right away. I first want to just say hello in the chat. Laura, it is so great to see you here. And I am so glad that you loved that novella. Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to talk about this, we're here today, by the way, to talk about Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, which is the novella, and the movie, which is the Shawshank Redemption. And I'll explain why I felt like I needed to have this conversation here in a moment. So thank you so much for showing up. I'll be reading the different season stories this fall. I'm so interested in watching these people discuss this story. Can't wait. Oh, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the collection. It's a pretty strong one.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. And Brian, hello. Hello, Merlin, too. Yay. Yay. Yeah, so I read this, as many of you know, I read this earlier this year. I think it was in March. And what happened was I had never seen the movie. And so I
I'm
went
not the only one. That
Yeah,
makes me so
look at
happy
that.
to hear.
You're not the only
I
one.
hadn't either.
Thank you.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Neither,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I'm so
I feel
old.
validated.
That's why
I'm
we're
so
all-
old.
We're all inmates together, except John, who doesn't need to be. but I had never seen the movie, and when I went home to visit my parents, it's my brother's favorite movie of all time. Like, he watches it every year. He watches it once a year every year.
Yeah.
And then my brother-in-law, it turns out it's his favorite movie, and I didn't even know he was much of a movie watcher, but it turns out it's his favorite movie of all time. And my parents, they were like, Joanna, you haven't seen The Shawshank Redemption? Well, they practically had the script memorized. So I watched it with my parents, and I could not get over how much I love this movie. And
Yeah.
I think the thing about this movie is that it got me to think thematically, like in the same way that a book gets me to think about themes. Like, I couldn't get the movie out of my head. I kept on thinking about the themes over and over. They just kept circulating in my head. And so I decided, I might as well pick up the book, why not? And so I did. Actually picked up the audiobook, which is narrated by Frank Mueller, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but I believe Stephen King said that he was like the voice in his head. Like, he narrated his books to perfection. But I did get the novella here, and I also had access to the ebooks. I had all types of formats. And so I read the book, and as I said in my wrap up, I liked the book. I had an appreciation for it, but the movie is so much better. Okay, but we're gonna go first, because you all heard me talk about this.
Spoilers, Joanna.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. We'll talk about it, and maybe I might be convinced differently. Who knows? But we're going to start with Tori, because we have not heard Tori's thoughts on this. I know John and Jake had a fabulous vlog on their channel discussing this as father and son for their father and son buddy read, and we're gonna go deep into this exploration of theme in this book and movie. But Tori, thoughts, and feel free to be, of course, honest.
Oh my goodness. I mean, everybody knows I'm the biggest Stephen King fan ever. So I was actually, I had read Dune McKee a year ago. Yeah. Summer last year.
Yeah.
And that was like my one. I've read Stephen King. It was a 5-star read. That was the one that was specifically recommended to me by Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and I really enjoyed it, but I hadn't really ever planned to like dig in much farther. DNF the Gunslinger like a couple years before that. And so I was a little surprised when Joanna reached out to me and was like, hey, do you want to do a discussion on the Shawshank Redemption with us? And you guys, I'm going to out myself on BookTube right now, because I didn't even realize that the Shawshank Redemption was written by Stephen King.
What?
Until this year. Like, I just hadn't, it was so outside my wheelhouse. Like, I was just like, it's a Stephen King novella. Okay. Like, I'm so sorry to all of the Stephen King fans that are like mourning right now. I'm so sorry. But The premise sounded really interesting when I was reading the synopsis, and I do love a good kind of revenge story / like, you know, underdog kind of story. So I thought, well, let's see what Stephen King's going to do with this. And as Joanna knows, because we had a lengthy conversation about it on Boxer, I almost DNF'd it 20 pages in and called everything off.
Really? Okay.
Yep. Because there were some things that happened, and I don't know if we want to go full spoilers right away. Joanna, should I like keep it vague?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. We are going to go into spoilers
right away. Okay.
I just have a feeling people have probably watched this movie aside from
kind of like the Lord of the Rings films at this point. Yeah,
it's been around. Like
it's
if
been around.
It's been it has been around. Yeah,
film,
yeah.
So yeah.
I knew of the movie, just not of the novella until recently. But yeah, there were some things that happen 20 to 24 pages into the book where there's some pretty hefty sexual violence that is described fairly graphically detailed on page. Not like to a crazy extent, but it was enough that I reached out to Joanna and I was like, okay, so I need to know, how far are we going with this? Is this something that continues throughout the entire novella? Because if it is, I gotta be out. And that led to an entire conversation about on-page violence of different kinds, which is something that I've been talking a lot about on my channel recently, and how a whole discussion about, you know, people often will say when I bring things up about content in books, they'll start to say like, well, I mean, that's realistic. So, and I've always had a really frustrated kind of visceral response to that. And I've had through this conversation with Joanna was finally able to recognize why and able to articulate it a little bit better. And because what happens in the book has some very specific personal triggers for me, we had a conversation about how there's levels of realistic for different readers, right? For the average reader, this is realistic. You know that it is something that happens, that it exists in the world, and that's really awful. Hopefully you think it's really awful. If you don't, that's very concerning. But like past that, there's a level of hyper realism for people that have a lived experience that is now added on top of what's going on page. And that means that not only are you like living through the experience with the character on page, you're also having that added lived experience of your own, especially in book form, because it engages your imagination a lot more. So it was a whole thing, and I'm so glad that I read this book just for that conversation that we had, because it was so awesome to finally be able to articulate that and how that works in my own head. But past that, once I got past that, I put it down for a couple of days and I moved past it, and I did get some feedback from friends about the film, because I was like, how detailed is this on screen now? Like I need to, you know, the book overall, I really liked a lot of the narrative voice with Stephen King. I'm learning is very, very organic and very strong. He does a great job of pulling you into that character voice. And Red is such a fantastic narrator for a story like this. And I love that it's not, you often hear about how it's very powerful to see a character from the lens of somebody else. And that's almost more powerful than seeing it through their eyes specifically. And I think that's very true for this story, that Andy would not have been as powerful of a character if I don't think to read, if it had been told through his voice instead of Red's, especially since Red is actually guilty of the crimes he's committed. So there's like that kind of juxtaposition there as well. So that was like my overview. Really, really had mixed bag on the book, but I could see immediately, like, I think this is the kind of story that would translate so incredibly well to film medium. And as soon as I watched the movie, I was like, oh my gosh, like what an incredible film, what an incredible, from the directing to the cinematography to the performances of these characters. Like it was way more impactful for me as a visual medium in terms of how I connected with the characters. And like, I mean, Morgan Freeman, like in anything, Tim Robbins was so perfect as Andy. And I'll kind of leave it there because I've been jabbering for a while, but that was kind of my experience in a nutshell with this book and the movie.
Oh, so I take it you don't regret it? Is that what have you?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
Good. Oh, excellent.
You looked
and
so
I also-
scared for a second, Joanna,
Yeah.
if she was going to say yes.
Oh.
It was mid. I mean, I will say I gave the book 3.5 stars. I can't remember. Because of some narrative choices that I felt like were a little heavy-handed from an author perspective,
Mhm.
that I feel like the movie erased in a lot of ways.
I agree.
So I appreciated that about it a lot.
I feel the same exact way. I'm so excited to unpack that some more. And I will also say, like, Tori and I were talking about this beforehand. That was such an important conversation, I think, for both of us. Like, I felt like it really opened my eyes to some things, and I just appreciate your willingness to communicate and to, you know, within your boundaries, feel okay to move forward, of course. And I'm just so glad to hear your thoughts about that, especially like what you were saying about the perspective of seeing Andy through Red's perspective in the book. I think that is something that is a strength in the book. I'm going to move it over to Jacob now, and I would love to hear more of like, what was your overall reaction? Just like, I know I saw the vlog, but if you want to share here, the reaction to coming from the novella, which I think you were very positive about, to suddenly seeing it on film, especially with all of your I don't know how to say it, cinematography knowledge. How about that?
Yeah. However you say it is correct, John.
My best guess.
Unlike you, Dad, I am scared to follow Tori because Tori was pretty in depth and really eloquent there. So I'm
Yeah,
really
I just
worried.
mean I want to say I'm happy to follow because I like to push the smartest people out first.
There we go. Okay, now I feel better. I feel better.
It
Thank
makes
you for
makes
saying
the whole stream gives the whole stream validity. We can just sit back.
My experience was a little bit different from. I guess I should provide a little bit of context that you and I do like a read along once a quarter, Dad, and the way that we do it as normally with a longer book than this, when we get to 25, 50, 75, 100%, each of us shoot our individual vlogs, kind of like how we're feeling so far. And we kind of put them on Patreon, but don't look at them. So we don't know if each other are liking the book. And then at the end, we have a big discussion and react to them all. And it's a grand old time. It's really fun. And in the past, all of the books that we've done, I've been very unsure about as I'm moving through them. We did Interview with the Vampire, and it was extremely dark and depressing at a time where I did not need that. It was hard to get through. And then Boy's Life was a book that it meanders purposefully, and you don't totally get the satisfaction of the meandering until way later in the story. But this book was something entirely different that I didn't know what the movie was about. I knew the movie existed. I obviously didn't know what the book was about either. I knew there was a prison, there's Morgan Freeman, and there's Tim Robbins. That's what I knew. And going into it, the thing that took me by surprise straight away was just how compulsively readable the story was. I could not put the book down. And like you, Tori, there are times for me where I'll get to a narrative and it's like, okay, that's really dark. I really hope there's a reason for that. Otherwise, I'm going to be mad. And I'm not going to put the book down, but I'm going to wave my finger at you and admonish you silently. And that scene did come up and lasted a little bit longer. It wasn't really just one scene because we're skipping through large portions of time here, but to connect it to what you said about being removed from Andy and this being through Red's eyes, the thing that really struck for me was Andy being innocent and looking at him through the eyes of Red makes him feel like this larger than life mythological character. He's the guy that stands up to the warden and gets everybody cold beers, right? And that's just an impossibility to these people. And throughout this story, this mythologically great figure who is innocent, and Morgan Freeman, or Red, I should say, believes that he is innocent, even though nobody else really does. That man gets teared down to the studs, and he has no hope left. He is brought down to ground zero, to the point where he's maybe living a worse life than Red is, who is guilty, and feels like he's in that class below other people. He places himself lower than the rest of society because of what he did. But that serves for the ending, because this man that is larger than life and gets torn down to nothing still shows that hope can prevail. And that it comes back around to Red for somebody that does feel sorry for what he's done. And that the whole ending with "I hope," just, I didn't quite cry, but I was close. So I felt like getting out of this, it was the same situation for me, that I got to the end of the book and felt, okay, great book, but I feel like it would work better as a movie. I'd maybe rate it 4 stars. I usually don't give stars, but I wouldn't give it a solid 5 stars. It was very close to not being one of my favorite books of all time, which is like the wager that you and I have, Dad, that all these books that he's recommending to me has to be a favorite of all time. And it barely squeaked it on there, only because I've not read a lot of books. And that's the only reason I made it on that list.
That's how I stack the deck in all my bets.
It makes it slightly unfair. But the movie, I've seen a lot of movies, and that movie, I think, is one of my favorite movies of all time, and it deserves to be on that list. That's just, if I can steal the quote of "boomers everywhere, they don't make them like they used to," that's a fantastic movie.
Oh my gosh, you spoke so well about that. Like, you actually answered, I think, in part, a question I was going to bring to John, which is, what do you think makes this movie so universal? Because everyone I know who watches it, they have that reaction. I mean, people are still calling it a favorite.
Yeah. And I think it's just that inner turmoil battle we have between our better angels and our darker selves. I mean, I love that you guys brought up right away the perspective choice of telling the story through Red's eyes, right? Or through Red's narration, because I think the perfect defining term I would put on Andy Dufresne is inspiring. To be in the darkest corner at that point in time and be living through what he's living through and still understand himself and his place in the world and who he is in his own skin, to not lose his hope, and to see that through somebody's eyes and understand that hope in that place, as Red says, is dangerous, but at the same time is inspiring. You couldn't tell the story from Andy's point of view and say, I wear my coat like, I wear my freedom like a coat when I walk through the yard. I mean, full of yourself much? It just doesn't work. Yes. But someone describing him walk across the yard and he wears his freedom and his inner self, knowing he's not guilty, like a coat, that lifts him up to those mythic proportions. It lifts him up to that inspiration. And I think I love to think the best of people, and I think all of us have that inner turmoil. All of us have that battle. All of us maybe not have moments that dark. Maybe some of us have moments darker. Our experience is so varied on this amazing planet that we all share right now. But all of us have those moments. All of us have that inner turmoil and that struggle. And which way are we going to lean? Are we going to lose ourselves? Are we going to lose what we think about as possibly a brighter tomorrow, possibly who we are, possibly how we can walk into that brighter tomorrow and bring others along with us by our example? Or are we going to cave and fall by what we're observing around us and not be able to combat it, lose sight of ourselves and who we are and what we stand for and what we can mean to others? So all of us have that. We've all been there. We've all dealt with that. So when we see a story and when we see a character exemplifying that so well and so beautifully, it lifts us all up. It changes us. It's that moment of, and I think the movie works better because it's a communal experience. We can all watch it together in a dark room. We can all step out into the lobby and look at each other and know we've just had an experience and know we know something a little bit more about ourselves and who we're standing in that lobby with. And then we go out into the world and we carry that experience with us and the ripples start to form. So I think in this case, because of the subject matter and because it's so well done and because of some of the choices they made while adapting it, it is a stronger movie. But I do love the book.
Yes. Oh, so beautifully said. I love it. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm always amazed by that because I mean, I've talked about this before on my channel. I tend to read a lot of books that are the books that I guess BookTube calls books for men or whatever, whatever silliness that is.
Get me started, Joanna.
Yeah.
Sorry. But it's like, but it's like, the thing is, I felt their struggle. I felt their plight. I felt these characters. And even though this is a situation that, God forbid, I ever end up in, there is something really, truly so universal in it. And just to piggyback off something Tori said, I do feel like especially the book, I think book and movie, I could say, are a bit didactic, meaning that there's like a very specific central message. It's not like open, like it's very clear, like hope is the answer. You know what I mean? It's very heavily pointed to. But what I love about the movie is that I feel like that conversation gets so much deeper about that particular theme. So let's go around and talk about it. Your thoughts about the theme of hope. I think you spoke about it beautifully, John, but also just how that's conveyed. So talking, and we could bring up book or movie, but Tori, I want to ask you your thoughts about that particular point, because I know that you brought that up in your thoughts earlier.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I liked about the combination of Andy and Red in the story is that you get a contrast of what hope looks like and why you have it. Because I think, you have one main character who is guilty and you have one main character that is innocent. And we see this, I think it's easy to focus so heavily on Andy's trajectory through the book because it's his story in a way, but it is also Red's story. And I think seeing the difference in hope and expectation when you have Andy, who knows the whole time that he's innocent and he is determined to not prove his innocence, but just escape and live somewhere where there is no memory of what has happened to him, versus Red, who, and I love that we get that little bit at the end with him, both in the book and the movie, where I think he's struggling a lot with whether he deserves that hope, where Andy has believed he deserves it the whole time. Absolutely. Red doesn't. And it takes him that long to finally accept that maybe I can have some of this hope too, because he knows Andy's innocent. So obviously my friend Andy should have hope because he didn't do it. I did. So, and how that different trajectory looked for both of them. I think it was interwoven enough to be really a really powerful contrast between the two. And a look at different aspects of hope within human experience that are completely, not completely opposite because they shared time at Shawshank, but their reasons for being there are completely opposite.
I love that. I love what you were saying about that, the differences, and especially because we know that Red is guilty. And actually that is one of the differences. I actually have a whole list of differences I caught between the movie and film. I came up with 11 or 12. But one of the big things is, obviously, Morgan Freeman. He is he's not quite Irish, I would say.
He says he is in the movie.
He says he is in the movie.
I did laugh at that because when I saw the cast for the film, I was like, I mean, Morgan Freeman is brilliant. Nobody's arguing that. But I was like, that doesn't quite fit the image I had in my head.
It doesn't have red hair. Yeah.
No, but I think the spirit of the character he embodies so well. And I think that when you're adapting book to film, that's, to me, often the most important aspect is how well can this actor embody the spirit of the character that they're playing, and how much do those details really matter?
Oh, he's my favorite thing in the movie. I'll get to that, but I want to make sure I give everybody else a chance to talk before I go off. So, Jake, how did you feel about the portrayal of hope in the movie, or a book if you want to go that direction, but especially in contrast between Red and Andy?
One thing that I loved about the kind of like the hope between the movie and the book that changes is that, like you said, it goes a little bit deeper in the movie. And I felt like that symbol of hope in the book is really, hope kind of involves risk, to some degree. It's risk that you'll get hurt. It's risk that something bad can happen to you. And the hope in this circumstance requires action. Andy hopes that he can escape and find some sort of life, like you said, Tori, where nobody remembers what's happening or what has happened to him. So he has to believe that hope, and in believing that hope, he takes the risk of potentially getting caught, because that exchange is worth it to him. And throughout the entire book, that exchange is not remotely worth it to Red. That risk is not something that he can afford, because that could break a person. That kind of hope in a dark place like that. That was really all that I got about hope in the book. But in the movie, I felt like there was a whole other element to it by making the warden one person.
Yes.
By making the warden one person instead of these kind of like signatory eras of multiple different wardens of all the different bad things that happened, kind of being the characteristic of time periods for Shawshank. It gives one authorial dictator for injustice. And they even, I'm sure you have this written down, John, it's like the biggest difference between the book and the movie, that they kill the guy that's like becoming a student.
Tommy.
Tommy, yeah, thank you. They kill Tommy in a way that like made me yell at the screen. I was
I was
upset.
so mad.
I was so mad. But that's the point, right? I was so mad that now there is this one face for me to direct my hatred at and go, I want that guy to die. That guy sucks. I hate that guy. And now, by Andy making the decision to take the hope and make that exchange and take on the risk, with that comes the karmic debt of justice coming back around and the warden getting caught. So like the whole theme of karma, of what happens, what goes around comes around, is tied up into that hope. And I really loved that in the movie. I thought it was way better executed in the movie than it was in the book, in a way that was so cool.
I so agree, because there are two wardens, I think, in the book, and
I
the
think there's
warden
more
at the
than
end.
two, is there? I thought
Maybe there
there
are
were
three.
I
five.
thought there's three. Yeah.
Oh, three.
There's
Okay.
three.
Okay, there are three. And at the end, like the last warden, I don't think he retires, I think, or he leaves his job, but I don't think anything really bad happens to him.
Yeah.
But my goodness, it's so powerful the way that's done in the movie. So I agree with all that you said. Yes. Beautifully said, Jacob.
Thank
So
you.
John, did you want to add anything about,
Hope.
yeah.
I do. I will. I'll add this, and also a different change is that Andy walks off with all those ill-gotten games that the warden has been holding in that safe
Yes.
behind
Yes.
the needlepoint scripture, and that's another just moment of fun karmic debt. So the one thing I will say, and I pointed this out in our vlogs to Jacob as my son, that I wanted him to walk away with from this book is I think it's so well summed up, and I can't remember the page number, but it says the quote is something along the lines of it doesn't take a diploma to make you, and a prison can't break you. So I love that, so beautifully put by Tori, about the juxtaposition of these two men. Who deserves a second chance? Who deserves hope? How do you earn hope? How do you keep that fire going? And in that line, I just think it's like, are you comfortable enough in your own skin to realize it's universal? It's everyone deserves it. Everyone deserves even more than a second chance, third, fourth, fifth. Everyone. It's like everyone with enough striving can change and have a difference made for them, and thereby make differences outside of them. So that hope springs to the point of try and walk away from this book by being able to look around you and see, even in the darkest places, and purposefully set here. We normally think of people that, like Red, will admit, I've done this thing. I've murdered someone. I've taken a life. That's going to cause knee-jerk judgment from all of us. We're all going to have feelings about that. Some of the darker moments in the prison, like Tori so beautifully, bravely said, like it's going to cause a triggering effect from some of us that have lived through things that we read that or see that on screen. So immediately we have those kind of feelings, we have those kind of triggers, we have those. But I loved so much with that one line, hopefully Jacob can walk away with, who deserves that kind of hope in the human experience, in the human family that we all share. Well, I mean, we certainly can't draw a line between it. Pretty much everyone can.
Right. Yes. Oh, I love that so
I'm
much.
taking so many notes.
I'm excited to hear where you're going to go with that. I'm going to go ahead and highlight really quickly Derry's comment here. She's responding about Morgan Freeman as Red. It works like any alteration in an adaptation. It works when it's true to the heart of the story. On Morgan Freeman, I couldn't agree more. I mean, he really brought his whole self to that movie. I felt like, honestly, in the book, I don't mean to diminish the importance of Red because he's important. He tells a story. And yet I felt like, I still feel like I felt more of a connection, though, to Red through the movie than I did through the book. I think that was a very significant thing for me. And Smoky Dude here says, precisely. And then Derry says, King's doing something here around right and lawful being different. Morality is often a long way from following rules or using the loopholes in them. Oh, so beautifully said. I love that insight, Derry. Thank you so much for sharing that. Ultimately, though, a person can become better. Anyone can grow into wisdom. Except the warden.
He had a long way to go.
He had a long way to go.
A long way to go.
Yeah. Whatever happened beforehand, prison is this new setting for people to be good or bad people. And some bad people turn out good, and some good people are the absolute worst. Absolutely. Yes. So well said. All of that could grow into wisdom.
And I mean, if I can really quickly, Joanna,
no, please.
Since the warden is coming up, one of the things that always makes me really viscerally angry in storytelling is when you have a character that so blatantly misuses God's morality and scripture as a Christian. And one of the things that I really love that I think was brought more to the forefront in the film is that, the warden tries to show Andy, this scripture verse on the wall about judgment. But the irony is it's covering his secrets. Right. And to me, that was such a beautiful symbolism. And also I loved when he finds the Bible with the rock hammer outline in it, because there's that Bible verse, the truth will set you free, which is such a thing for Andy's whole situation. And I loved when he opened the Bible in the movie, because I don't think that happens. There wasn't anything about that in the book, but just from a visual representation of this is what happens to someone who misuses this as a human authority versus somebody who's trying to do his right thing. And I loved that. I loved that change in the film a lot.
All that's such a beautiful callback in the movie, right? Because when they're tossing Andy's cell, Andy hands the Bible to the warden. The warden doesn't open it. The warden doesn't sit with him and find his favorite scripture and have a moment with Andy or try and move him in any way. None of that. If he would have done that, if he would have walked his own walk the way he talked,
Andy would have never gotten out.
He would have never gotten out.
Yeah. I like this comment here too. Reminds me of the description of Javert from Les Miserables. So well said. Of all that was good, he was the worst.
He was the worst.
Yeah. So I do have a huge list here of things. Not a huge, but I do have a list here of the differences. Do you all want me to go ahead and share those, and then we could talk through some of them?
Go ahead. Okay. Sure.
I mean, it's not a perfect list. They were just things that I noticed. And actually, I did rewatch the movie within the last few days, and I noticed one more. And I'll just go ahead and say it. It's when Andy gets them the beer when they're
Mm-hmm.
drinking. In the book, he says the beer is piss warm.
Yeah.
And in the movie, it's actually cold. There's an extra line that Morgan Freeman's character adds. He adds like a couple of extra like metaphors and similes throughout the script. But he says something like, "We were the kings of the world up there with our cold beers," and like you feel this victory, and it's
Mm-hmm.
such a victory, and it's like it's one of the first moments I think that really sparks something in the other prisoners, and it works in the book too, but it's just that slight difference. I just caught it. But yeah, of course, we already talked about some of these. So of course, Morgan Freeman, obviously he's very different than the book, but he just nailed the heck out of that role. I loved him in that role. And then, okay, my favorite part in the movie is, does anybody have a guess of what that is?
It's got to be the aria.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is full aria from La Noce di Figaro. I cannot believe that. I could not believe that was not in the book. So I think I'm the only one here where I watched the movie first, then got to the book, and then I watched the movie again. And I want to talk about that in a minute because I think that is absolutely significant. So Jake, we already talked. I mean, not Jake. I put Jake. I don't know why I put Jake. Tommy got shot by the warden, so we know that, and also the high school diploma, like that.
Yeah.
In the book, Red says, he was trying to get his high school diploma. I don't know whatever became of that, and he ends up getting transferred to another prison when the warden tunes in on what a danger or threat he is. But he doesn't get shot, and he doesn't get that diploma at the moment when Andy is in the hole. Like, I think that the way that they plotted that was so perfect in the movie, because he's thrown into the hole for calling the warden obtuse. And that does actually happen in the book, but it's like when he's in the hole that they find out that he barely gets the high school diploma because of a C average, something like that. And
well, that sorry.
Yeah,
John,
go ahead.
If
No, go
I
ahead.
can break in 1 second. That ties so well into what Derry was just saying earlier. That like sometimes rules are immoral. Rules are not exclusively the same thing as morality. So to have the expectation that justice is going to prevail through the regular rules and motions, that Andy will find justice because Tommy, knows what really happened, and Tommy is working to get better. Tommy's getting an education, and oh my God, he did it, and the warden just came and squashed all of it. It's like, okay, forget the rules. That's just wrong. Now morality is going to take over. Like that, it was the perfect setup for how all that must play out afterward as an expectation from the audience.
Yes, so well said. I love that. I guess the next, so I'll go ahead and let's see. So Brooks, and I know some people are talking about that in the chat. Brooks is in the book, but I think the bird belonged to a different character in the book. I want to say I could be. I don't know. Tori, you
Possibly.
could correct me about that because you read the book sooner than I did, or closer than I did. But I did feel like his sequence in the movie was way more profound, more poignant, because, and I think that's the one limitation, because again, in the book, we're just seeing everything in first person through Red's perspective. The nice thing is we got that real sequence of Brooks and what it's like to be institutionalized and how that's affecting him in the outside world. And man, there's some real commentary there, isn't there?
Another incredible performance too.
Yes.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
This feels like the did you know Viggo Mortensen broke his toe of this movie? So I'm sorry if everyone knows this already. But
No, I didn't know. Go ahead.
the character Brooks is
broke his toe.
that's the only comparison I can think of. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Brooks is the only character in Shawshank Redemption that while he's there, he is not framed behind bars. All of the other characters are shot behind the bars because
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Brooks is entirely comfortable because he's institutionalized. This is his home. But when he gets to the halfway house and he's putting the noose up in the rafters, the camera comes up and there's these little bars that they frame him through because now
That's
he's
brilliant.
imprisoned.
Oh, that is so brilliant. Oh my
So
goodness.
cool.
I didn't even notice that.
So brilliant.
I had to look it up. I can't say that I figured that out on my own, but it's cool.
That's
All
very
the
good.
little details. Like,
Yeah.
we talk
It's
in
like
books and storytelling about showing, not telling, but like how
Mhm.
much of that goes into filmmaking too. Sorry, John,
yeah,
go
and
ahead.
whether you notice it or not, you notice it,
You notice
right?
You
it.
feel
Like
it.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
notice it. And the other thing, it's like I love the Arya scene as well.
Yeah.
And for me, that's such a perfect example of how you keep the heart and soul and the spirit of the story and you tell it in a visual medium. That would be a very difficult scene to pull off in prose because you don't get the juxtaposition of the camera sweeping upward as the notes go up. You don't get the you don't get the view of the men's faces tilting up as they listen and the light hitting them. And you see them as human beings being moved by art. The camera movement, the lighting, the blocking, all of that adds to that in the visual medium to show you no matter who, diploma or prison, no matter who, there's a worth in each and every one of those bodies. There's a soul. There's a being there that is worthy, that has worth. And you can't. The visual medium is such an enormously. The deck is stacked so well to show that in that moment. It would be very difficult to pull that off in prose. I mean, not impossible, but the visual medium just lends itself to it. That's why and it builds like the cold beer, and then it builds up to showing the worth of these men, and then in this beautiful meta moment you show them experiencing the soul moving potential of art.
Yeah. Well, there's the audio of it too. You wouldn't get to hear the
This
music.
is making me
if you
want to
read the
cry.
book.
I guess I could re-visualize it as you're
Yeah.
talking about it. I
Yeah.
could see the light in their eyes when
Mm-hmm.
they're hearing this beautiful music. And I love it because we'll just go ahead and go there because Brett says, I don't know what those Italian women were singing about, but I don't ever want to know.
Yep.
Of course, as you know, my training, I did know the aria instantly. That is Sol Aria from Le Nozze di Figaro. And the funny thing about that aria is it is so beautiful, isn't it? Like it's
No, it's gorgeous.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
I did put that in the Instagram story. But the thing is, it's about two women who are conspiring against so it's basically about Susanna, who's this young, beautiful woman who's about to get married to Figaro, and then the Countess, who is this slightly older woman, and she's already been long married to the Count. And he's basically, the Count is having the 7-year itch, so to speak, and starting to check out Susanna. And so the Countess and Susanna get together and they're like, we're going to plot against him and we're going to write this letter and then we're going to trap him. And so they're actually conspiring together in that duet against this adulterer and playing a joke. And so it's kind of funny because if you know what's going on and then you hear the music, but it's so perfect. Everything you said, John, everything you said, like the way that not only it's how the film can bring that to life in a way that prose can't. Like spoken from an author. This is why I have 3 authors in this discussion today, or added benefit. But honestly, like that is so true. I hadn't even thought about that. I was just disappointed it wasn't there in the book. But now that you say that, like that makes sense.
It's such a beautiful piece of work by someone that loves the source material. Like obviously Frank Darabont loved this story. He wanted to bring it to the visual medium, and it's not like he didn't add anything, but he added things and always in service to and spirit to what the story was because he loved it. And that's not always the case with Stephen King because just like this one, there is always a bright, shimmering bit of hope in all of these dark stories, no matter how dark they get. And if you match that with a filmmaker that is quite cynical about the human experience, Stanley Kubrick, it doesn't always mesh or make sense in the adaptation.
Oh, it's so perfect, and how Andy he goes into the hole for it, and he does it willingly. He knows it, and he does it because he wants to inspire these inmates. He brings something alive.
Easiest time he ever spent.
Easiest time he ever spent. That's right. And this brings me to, I think it brings me to the next point, but I just want to make sure I'm not skipping anything. We talked about the diploma. Okay. the relationship between Tommy, and we need to talk about that eventually. So I'm just going to go ahead and go into this next point, because this is one of another favorite part of the movie for me that's not in the book, is that it's actually following that scene when Andy gets out of the hole. They're all having a meal together at the tables, and Andy talks about why he did it, and that it's about getting to this place inside of you that they can never get to.
Yep.
This is really powerful, by the way, you all, because I just finished reading 1984, and I could just seeing the themes of this like kind of flipped anyway. And it does feel kind of dystopian now that I think about it. Anyway, but yeah, he's talking about this place inside of you that you can't get to, that you can't change. And what are you talking? And Red says, "What are you talking about?" And Andy says, "Hope." And of course, then Red holds up his spoon. He's like, "Let me tell you something." He's like, "Hope is a dangerous thing." And that right there for me is why this theme of hope goes so much deeper, because that's not in the book. And the thing is, like, and then of course Andy brings up like Brooks. He brings up Brooks, are you gonna just end up like Brooks? And so Brooks's significance in the story keeps getting echoed in the movie in a way that it doesn't get echoed in the book, which I really appreciate.
All those visuals of when Red gets out, walking the same footsteps, walking the same path, working the same place in the same room. Yeah. Oh, it just permeates.
It just permeates.
Carving his name on the ceiling, just like Brooks did.
Yeah. Brooks was here. Yeah.
Well, and so Brooks even makes that comment about I think Britton mentioned it earlier. Something about old crooks like me. And then later on, when Red gets out, he also uses almost that exact same phrase, which I think just continually drives how close Red came to following that path instead of Andy's. Because again, there's that like, do I even deserve this? Even if if I want hope, do I even deserve it? And the
I love
one thing that I thought was interesting, not to go all the way back to the hope theme, but was that one of the reasons why I think Andy's hope is very powerful because he's innocent. His freedom, we root for his freedom so much because we know that he's in there. It's unjust. It's, all of this stuff. But I think Red's hope is so powerful because he, right away in the beginning, it's like everybody's in here is innocent. Everybody's in here.
Yeah.
Red is the one person who continually admits his guilt the whole time. And I think that is also a very subtle, very powerful exploration of accepting something he's done that was honestly quite horrible.
It's not in the movie, but it's in the book, and it's pretty bad.
It's in the book. Yep, it's pretty awful. And that's where I think the movie did such a better job walking that balance of admission of guilt versus the hope and humanity of the characters. Because in the book it was almost like we were kind of glossing over that for a lot of the characters, like, oh well, they're these perfect, like, pure white angels, and I can't believe anybody would think that they're horrible people or anything, whatever. And like, I think there's a balance between recognizing and respecting the humanity and also recognizing that there's a reason why Red is in here, and what he did is pretty awful, and you have to like be aware of that and also want him to better himself and lead a life that contributes more to himself and others.
I'm so eager to piggyback off that, Tori, because I love that you're bringing up this idea about Red having that guilt and that weighing on him. Like, that's so well said, because like for me, just adding to that, like when I listened to Morgan Freeman as Red say, hope is a dangerous thing, I was like, you know what? He's right. It is a dangerous thing to hope. And not
intellectually,
it is a dangerous thing. And it's also, and I think Andy obviously brings him around to seeing that risk is worth everything. But at the same time, I put myself in, I couldn't help but put myself in Red's shoes, because in the movie, and this is another big difference, Red at the beginning, he tries to go up for parole, gets rejected. And I mean, he's gone up so many, and he goes up again in the movie a second time, gets rejected. And each time he's like, oh yeah, I'm a changed man. And he tries and he gets rejected. And he's like, I'm going to live my whole life here. And when I get out, I'm going to not have my marbles anymore. And I'm going to be an old man and I'm not going to have a life anymore. And Brooks is the symbol of that as well. But so in that moment, though, like the perspective I took from Red is if you go up and you try to go up for parole and get rejected that many times, like to me, it makes sense to give up hope and to be like, okay, this is my life. I'm going to make the most of my life. I'm the man who can get things. I have a purpose here, kind of like what Brooks did. And so like, I felt like, you know what? Red has a point. He has a point. Like, I'm not, I love the book that the movie ends the way it does, but I still think like Red kind of has a point. And I think that's why I feel like it goes deeper for me, this theme in the movie than it does in the book. Like that's one of the things I was thinking about. But I also love what you were saying about adding the guilt layer to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one change you didn't mention, Joanna. And
Go ahead.
I think there's an interesting through line of the of this through the entire book, and the aria is a big part of it. Yeah. But that is not in the book of when Andy gives Red the harmonica.
Oh yes,
as a birthday gift.
Yes.
So if you start to look at this idea of hope, who deserves it? It's a dangerous thing. By the end, when the epiphany hits, it's get busy living, get busy dying. When you look at the film, you have this thread all the way through of the transcendency of art. What does Brooks and then what does Andy do with his time there? He builds a library.
I was going to get to that.
He brings literature and words.
Andy is our people.
Yeah, absolutely. There are records in that library. Even after the aria, then we have the character played by William Sadler listening to Hank Williams Jr. with the headphones. That
was a great scene.
We have Red getting the harmonica. We have the transcendency of creation to the human spirit. We have the movement of art through the human soul and what that does and the ability that is. When it's sometimes at our darkest hour when you try to create something from nothing to the best of our ability, it's as close as we can get to the celestial, right? So you have that thread moving all the way through. So when that epiphany hits at the end, you've seen that movement, not just from one scene, but just all the way through as it moves by. It's quite a beautiful meta thing to have in a work of art, in a film itself.
And the harmonica scene also shows that there is still a little bit of light left in Red, because when Andy gives him the harmonica, Red opens it and closes it back up and says, I
can't do it yet.
I can't do it yet. But the moment that Andy walks away, he blows one note into it. He can't help himself. He has to use it.
That is perfectly said. I was so excited to talk about the library because I don't know if I built it up in my head more than it was, but I felt like the library bringing all those books. I know that part of it, like it's framed partly as this is how he's doing the laundry scheme and getting out of doing literal laundry to do figurative laundry. But I felt like it was more than that. I felt like the books were representative. Okay, so you all saw that too. Like,
oh my gosh. Yeah. He's giving people a future with education.
Yeah.
As well as the art. Yeah.
And huge. A bigger world. And a bigger world.
Seeing outside the gray walls.
Right.
Yes, like you said, he's our people.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's what I would do.
Oh my gosh. It moves me so much because it's like music and like you said, art and books. It's just absolutely incredible the way that is happens. I think we got through most of my points. I think the speech at the end was also pretty significant. Speaking of hope, when Red goes up for going for parole again, and this time his speech is different, right? Yeah. He doesn't say, "Oh yes, I'm a changed man." Nope. What does he say? That
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's just a word you used.
Yep.
Keep your job, stamp your papers.
You know what's slightly ironic about it is, would you say that it almost seems like he gives up hope in that speech?
Yes, and
a little bit.
Go ahead, Tori, and then Jacob, or Jacob and Tori, either way.
Go for it, Tori.
Yeah, I think sometimes we have to, I don't know if this is going to come out right, but I feel like sometimes we have to hit that absolute rock bottom before we can start pulling ourselves out. And I think in some way he had to let go of that in order to be ready to move past it, if that makes sense. I think him letting go of that and speaking what he actually felt and just leaving it all on the table was a way of him letting go of what he's been dragging around this whole time. And I think that wipes his slate clean in some ways, to see the world, okay, I got that all off my chest, and now what? You know, I'm not shielding myself with that anymore. Now what? And that's scary, because now hope is coming in hot, you know, and it's like, but now what does my life look like, or what's behind that? What's next?
Oh, well said. I think that's, I agree with that. But Jacob, go ahead.
I think the scene where he's sitting there and saying, you know, just stamp your paper, you do whatever you got to do, is, it's him saying out loud that he's given up. But I think the subtext of it is that he's agreeing with Andy that there is something in him that they can't take away. Whether you stamp that paper or not, there's hope in me. Whether you grant me my freedom or you don't,
That's
you
the
don't
way
take
I
away
like
that
that.
I have the hope in me.
That's the way I saw it as well after this entire journey. And Red has more of an arc as far as change goes and redemption than Andy. Like Tori has pointed out, he knows himself. He wears says freedom like a coat because he knows himself. He's comfortable in his skin. By the end, Red understands the true redemption is going to come from within. It doesn't matter the administration, the bureaucracy, the papers, the stamps, your judgment. What matters is my view of myself that I carry across the yard. What'll I wear as a coat?
Wow. I had not thought about it that way. This is amazing. Thank you all. That was incredible. I guess like one other change I'll just quickly say is that at the end, the poster is different. In the book, it's Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah.
I got a kick out of that. Yeah.
Well, that was also, I think in the book there's 4 posters, where in the movie there were just 3.
I think 3.
3. Also, one small, not to nosedive the like hope train, but the bird dies in the book, which I was not happy about.
Yeah.
So I was very happy that in the movie they didn't do that.
Oh, I've forgotten about that. Thanks for
Yeah.
bringing that up.
I
That's
do
sad.
think-
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and check if this is true, but you pointed this out, Dad, and I think you remember this correctly, but when Brooks lets go of the bird, and he's about to leave, and he's, you know, letting it go through the bars so it can fly away, he's not shot behind the bars, but the light is coming in and putting the shadow of it on his face.
Yeah. I remember it in my head that way. I would have to rewatch it to be sure, but the light, let's just say it out loud. The lighting in this film is
Incredible.
to die for.
Yeah.
Like,
So good.
Didn't you
Roger
say
Deakins.
something about that in your vlog, Jake, that they shipped in lights for this, or?
Yeah, so the cinematographer is Roger Deakins, who is like maybe the greatest cinematographer of all time. He's done like Blade Runner 2049. He's done Fargo. The guy's a legend, and he wanted the light for all of the prison scenes to look entirely natural, which is difficult to do if you're shooting in a real prison like they were a lot of the time, because the sun comes up here maybe for 2 hours and you have natural light to shoot for 2 hours. So what they did is they flew in daylight sky panels, and they used, I believe, every single one in the country. They flew into that one location so that they could
Wow.
light the prison as if it were daytime through the whole day.
And you would never know. It just looks so natural, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
perfectly capturing the
And
atmosphere you would imagine from the book.
His philosophy for the lighting was that it's all natural daylight, and any other lights than that are little practical lights. Like they have little orange lamps in the center aisles in the cell block. That's it. No
Wow.
accent lights, no hair lights. It's all sunlight based light that they're accentuating through like softening curtains and stuff, so it looks really glowy.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Genius. Absolutely
yeah.
brilliant.
I've heard I heard a couple of extra lore things about the film. I don't know for sure, but my brother-in-law told me that apparently Tom Hanks was going to go for the role of Andy Dufresne, and
that would have been different.
That would have been different.
Yeah.
They decided not to go with him, obviously, and I can't remember the exact reason for that. Yeah.
But Tom Hanks got to have his chance at a Stephen King prison adaptation, though, with Green Mile.
Oh,
True.
yeah, there you go.
I think there was something in the, because I watched it on Prime, and I'm pretty sure in the like trivia thing that they do on the side, that they said something about there were like 3 or 4 other actors that they were looking at for Andy, and Tom Hanks I think was filming Forrest Gump at the time. So he was like interested in the script, but that he had already committed to Forrest Gump, which is also an incredible movie. And then I'm trying to remember who the other 2 were, because they were pretty big names too, I think. I can't remember. Tom Cruise was one, I think, potentially.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that'd
would
be
have also
different, too.
been very different. But I'm trying to remember who the last one was, because I know they mentioned like three pretty big names.
That's amazing.
Now I got to look it up. I really want to.
Yeah, no, we're going to have to look that up.
Kevin Costner.
Oh, see, Kevin Costner.
Kevin
Yeah.
Costner.
That could have
See,
worked,
I just
maybe,
my
but not as well as Tim Robbins.
I actually Tim Robbins really won me over in the film, because when he first showed up on screen, I was like, that's not how I imagined Andy at all. Like, he's super tall. And he doesn't, like, Morgan's narrating this whole thing, and he's like, yeah, it looks like a good stiff wind would blow him over. Like, I'm somebody that a good stiff wind will blow over. Tim Robbins is not. And I was like, really? I mean, and that I think is another reason why, to me, the way he carries himself, the way that he just embodies the spirit of the character, after probably 10-15 minutes, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, originally I had a really hard time like visualizing him as Andy, because he didn't look like somebody who was, leaner and maybe easily taken advantage of from a size perspective and stuff. I wasn't really buying that in the beginning.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Tim Robbins also has that range to him that he, in the scene where he's talking to Red in the courtyard, and then there's like the double context going on where Andy knows he's trying to escape, but Red thinks that he's about to make the ultimate end choice for himself.
Yes.
Red is terrified for him because that man looks crazy, and I'm worried too, because my God, Tim Robbins, what have you done to yourself? You're killing it in this scene, but it's making me worried.
Are you okay?
Yeah, Tim Robbins worked so well for me because you hadn't seen his face that much at that point in his career, and number 2, he has a very active, fertile inner life. And you have a character externally that doesn't show much emotion, is somewhat stoic, but when you bring the camera close to Tim Robbins, you see so much going on behind his eyes. He has a very active inner life that transcends those eyes and hits the camera, which is not always easy to do. So he was really great.
He is genius at doing that. Even from like the
So
first scene, like in the court, I was amazed with his eyes.
Yeah.
How he expresses himself.
But
When
what
he
he shows,
mumbles,
and he's so still, yeah.
Yeah, even the choices he made with his delivery, where it's this kind of mumbled, like, I'm just in my inner world, and I guess I have to say something, or like I have to connect or communicate with the outside world. From an acting perspective, it's just interesting. I like it.
Yeah.
I think
And it's neat too, like when he's walking in and Red and the other prisoners are sizing them up. He does walk with a bit of a stiffness with the not fitting in. And at first he judges it. I was like, and at first he judges it. It's like, oh yeah, this guy thinks he's all that. And he misjudged. Clearly he lost his bet. But yeah, it's so, he did that role so perfectly, just to perfection.
Yeah, he was.
I don't have a single critique about this movie. Like,
No.
No, I don't
I
either.
think it's a perfect movie. I really do.
Yeah. Well,
I agree, Derry. I'm really glad that they didn't cast the others that they were looking at, because I just think it wouldn't. They're all like fine and good actors in their own right, and I've enjoyed a lot of their stuff, but I just feel like Andy none of them would have worked with the kind of, like you said, that kind of inner light that Andy needed.
Yeah. And that's well said.
It's a specific tone.
I agree. And that's also well said about how, I guess he wasn't well known at the time. Robbins wasn't well known at the time. So, yeah. So, did this movie make his career? Did he go on to do many other
I can't
films?
remember if this was before or after Bull Durham. I think Bull Durham really was his star turn, but this definitely made a big difference to his trajectory for sure.
I'm sure.
Wow.
Bull Durham was 1988.
So that was before, I think.
Yes, that was a little good while before.
Oh, he's in a Mystic River adaptation. I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah. Well, he's worked like forever. Pretty
Wow.
much
The only
steady
other
since
time
then.
I had seen Tim Robbins in something was The Hudsucker Proxy, which is a different movie. I did
Oh, yeah.
not know he
Very
could do
different.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like he has a wide range just based on what he presented
sure.
in this film. So, goodness. All right. Well, did anybody have any other points that you wanted to cover about book or movie that we didn't cover?
Go watch it if you haven't. I don't know why you would be sitting here if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I'll say at the end, the punch that it has, and this is just going back to like why Red narrates this and why it's so effective, is in the film particularly because you can you hear it and you see it, but the journey he has from holding up that spoon saying, "Let me tell you something, Andy. Hope's a dangerous thing," to the end, the last shot of them on the sand, and you hear his voice reverberate over and over again. I hope I see my friend. I hope the water is as blue.
Yeah.
I hope. And
I cried.
And then when you see those two guys embrace each other, I'm not made of stone. I lost it. Like, that is effective.
Oh my goodness.
I prefer, and I know that like there's a lot of different ways that you can interpret the book ending versus the movie ending and why each of them might be impactful in their own way. But I feel like for me personally, because I am not a grimdark, I'm a noble dark. I like that happy ending of sorts, because none of them is going to be able to remove what they've been through. Neither of them is going to be able to completely outrun the experiences that they've had. But that moment where there is something worth hoping for, there is a life outside of this that we can have, is just so powerful, and I feel like we need more of that.
And what does it say about friendship? And Tori, for you, what does it say for found family? What is my dream? To be somewhere where no one knows who I am or what I've done. But you know what? Here's directions
I'm gonna invite
for you.
this guy.
Because I want you to be there with me.
I love the friendship theme in this too because of that. Because through the whole, like when we first meet Red, he's surrounded by a group of guys that he's known for quite a while, and they're, friendly, allies, if you will. And I might be wrong about this, but in the book and the movie, I don't think Red ever refers to any of them as friend specifically. I'd have to go back and look, but Andy's the only one.
Yeah, in the book, it's very, very careful. You'll notice Red always says our little family here in the prison.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I think it's he specifically, like, the relationship that he has with Andy, I think, is very much set apart even within that circle.
Absolutely.
And I think that's, and to see that bond grow over time, where at first Red's just like, oh yeah, this guy, he's innocent, and then afterwards, so the moment in the movie where you see it on Morgan's face, where he suddenly realizes when Tommy Williams is sharing his story, you see him, like, the light bulb go on, where he's like, oh, he's like for real.
He is innocent. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so cool to watch that. Sorry, Jacob, I kind of interrupted you at the beginning of that.
No, you're totally fine. I was just gonna say I love endings to, like, movies and TV shows where it's like the Inception ending that's like not really a cliffhanger, but it's like at the top still spinning, and then it cuts to credits and you're like, did it? But in your brain you're like, he's got it. Yeah, he's got it.
Yeah.
But to me, this was kind of the same thing. Like at the end of the book, it's I hope I see my friend. I hope the water's as blue as I dreamed it to be. But you don't get to know. You don't get to know if you made it there.
Yeah.
In the movie,
The visual medium. Yeah,
the visual
you see them
medium, you
together.
get to see them back together. But I believe, and I could be wrong about this, I don't totally remember, the transition from Morgan Freeman on the bus to being out there with Andy is one of, if not the only times that a cross dissolve is used in the movie to transition from one place to another. So is it
It
real?
could be a little bit of a dream sequence for him.
Could be.
No, it can't be.
I know, that's what I'm
refuse.
saying.
No.
Like, you cut to black and it's like, no, they're together. They're
No.
together. I refuse
Yeah.
to believe anything else.
I do.
Well, if go ahead, Joan. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I just, if we're all summing up, the last thing I will say is, as someone that's been reading Stephen King since I was in junior high, I love this, and this is why I threw this at Jacob first. He had never really read Stephen King, is because there is, I'm not going to say he doesn't do some horrific stuff, but he always never loses sense and sight of the human experience and the pathos and the catharsis and the light, and his just character, his voice, his ability with voice. Just as a writer, you're reading this like, how is he doing that? Like, how does he do that with voice? And it's he's really somebody worth checking out. Different Seasons is a great place because it is just character drama and character voice through these 4 novellas. So, and Green Mile is another great. There's so many great ones. If it's somebody that you think, oh, I'm not into horror, I haven't really done that, he's got enough of a catalog to where I can almost promise you could find something that will work.
Oh my gosh, I could just gush about that all day too.
Yeah.
Dark Tower was really my entry point, I suppose. 11/22/63 was actually the first King book I read, and
Yeah, so
I
good.
started pretty strong.
I
Well,
read
actually, I
that one
started
too.
with Gunslinger and then 11/22/63. But something that he does so well is he's able to, like you said, character voice. In this book, it was in movie, it was very focused on very specific ages and backgrounds, but even different backgrounds, pretty well captured. And he has such a strength for that though in his books, like crossing different ages, different timelines, different decades, and he can get these characters to interact in ways that feel very authentic and natural. Like he is genius at doing that. So absolutely agree with you. And yeah, Different Seasons. I did make it through the collection. I won't say it's my favorite King, but I did have a good time with it. The Breathing Method might be my favorite, which is probably a hot take, but but I think like for my personal resonance meter, which is something I just started, I gave the book Shawshank Redemption, I gave it medium personal resonance, but the movie just hit it all the way to the top. This is a movie that it just hits so hard, and I'm somebody who reads a lot of bleak stories, as people notice, and this one, like the ending, especially the hopeful ending that I wanted to be, that Jacob might have burst my bubble about.
I'm so sorry.
I just like to me it's like it's perfect. Like it's everything I need it to be. Yeah, and it feels earned. It feels earned to me.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think the thing about hope is, there's, I guess the concept might be called false hope, where it's like if I chop off my arm and I want it to grow back, like, and I have hope it'll grow back, like that's obviously not going to happen. But if there is hope in the human spirit, that it can always find a way towards the light, towards its own sense of freedom, no matter what's surrounding it, and using art as a means to do that. I think, yes, so here for it.
Watch the movie. It's a beautiful work of art, and watch it with people. Enjoy it communally. Enjoy it with people. I love hearing how you watched it, Joanna, with your family, and that's the way you should watch it with people.
Yeah, I watched it with my parents, and they had the script practically memorized. Actually, they spoiled it for me too, because I hadn't read the book or anything. They're like, "Oh yeah, it's about this guy. He was an innocent, and he breaks out of prison at the end." And I'm like,
What?
my family doesn't believe in spoilers, so but I still loved it. Like it was so funny. So I still loved it. Like I still absolutely adored it. Every single moment of it, I was pulled in to the story. Love the soundtrack. I didn't even mention that. Of course, we talked about
Gorgeous.
the aria, but like the piano soundtrack with the Brooks sequence and there's different kinds of music that's interspersed throughout. Some of it a bit more vibrant and some of it a bit more melancholic, but it's always just like perfectly leading you on that path. And just so beautifully done. Perfect acting, excellent lighting. I'm so glad that you spoke about the lighting, Jacob, and some of those cinematography effects as well. And you three had such incredibly brilliant insights, as I knew you would. And I just want to thank you all for joining me to gush about this here on my channel.
This was amazing. Thank you. We
was
had
fun.
such a great time reading it, but this was just the perfect cherry on top of it.
You're the most encouraging
really
host.
fun.
I love that. Every time I speak, you go, "That was the smartest thing I've ever heard." I love this. This is great.
We need to. Go ahead, Tori.
I was just gonna. I always leave Joanna live streams just feeling like better about myself.
Yeah, this is awesome.
I was gonna say we need to somehow create a pocket Joanna. So when you're having that,
Yeah.
when you're having that day, it's like I need a little Joanna. Okay, I'm all right.
And yeah, a little encouragement.
Yeah.
You all did. You all brought up even more that I can just appreciate about something that I already loved, and that's why I love discussions like these. And yeah, I mean, I don't normally talk about film on my channel. I couldn't resist. I just couldn't resist with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
And
storytelling.
Yeah.
Yep.
it's all storytelling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. I really do truly, sincerely mean it, that how grateful I am and how much your insights have meant to me. So go watch the film, of course, if you haven't. And thank you, by the way, to everyone in the chat. You're the best too, Derry. And I really am grateful for those of you who came here. It means a lot. So with that said, have a great rest of your evening. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.